Hey, welcome to a Doug podcast. I don't even know what it's called yet, but I'm happy to be here with Kristen Hosman to talk about some exciting, interesting, crazy news that's been kind of bubbling around, but some dates came out and kind of some final, guide rails around, GP Great Plains, and its end of life. So I appreciate you being here, Kristen, to discuss this news. And yeah, just take a quick moment, introduce yourself, and we'll get going.
Sure. So, Kristen Hosman, I'm president of Mount Evans Consulting. My current focus is strictly Business Central. However, I was an end user and a consultant for Dynamics GP for several years before I got into Business Central.
Cool. And last time I saw you, I was under a little bit of physical duress. It was personal, and I did take a toll. I'm fully recovered now. So definitely the auspices of our meeting today are a little different. Let's just jump right in. I know there's some key dates we'll want to get across again. They've been out there, but let's just reiterate those dates again, if you can. And then we'll kind of jump into some options and kind of next level discussion.
Yeah, so the newest information is that Microsoft has announced that September 30th, 2029 will be the last date for updates and product enhancements for Dynamics GP. And then they will have extended support through April of 2031. So what that really means is that, they're going to support GP. They're not going to be doing many enhancements, things like that. But they'll help you keep it running until those dates. And then, you need to make a decision before then, obviously, what you're going to be doing.
And that also probably means you're going to have pretty solid partner support out there. So, and just general support. I mean, I went through this with AX in version 2009 as it was sunsetting, and those resources do stick around for a good period. So that's a pretty good sign that you've got, at this point, 5 years plus of support and time to think through the next bit of what you're going to do with your software. So yeah, let's just jump right in. So I think there's a natural progression from GP to Business Central, and maybe just talk a little bit about that in your experience, because you've seen it from both sides.
Yeah. So right now, Microsoft has built BC in a sense so that there is a natural migration path to Business Central. The one key word here that I want to kind of hone in is migration, right? Because what does that mean? And Microsoft has a built-in cloud migration tool, which in theory will take your data from GP and move that data into BC. Of course, there's a lot of things that need to happen. You need to be on a certain version of GP, a certain version of SQL. If you're still running GP 10, good luck. It's a re-implementation.
Yeah.
But really, it kind of is a re-implementation anyway. So even though you have the cloud migration tool, there's still certain tables, custom fields, ISVs, custom tables there as well that aren't going to get migrated with this tool. So when you look at your current GP environment, you really need to be looking at it in a sense that this is going to be a re-implementation. And it should be, you should start from the ground up, because there's processes that you may be doing in GP, customizations that were done that now exist in BC. So you don't need to do things with custom code anymore. It's a good time to get rid of the garbage and kind of rethink everything, maybe revamp your chart of accounts, your financials and processes as well. So, if you're on GP today, you need to be thinking about what is next. What does, 3, 4, 5 years look like from now? And start talking with your partner and getting, what's their message about it, and things like that. And get involved in the community, get involved with Doug. And I don't even know Bobby, but Doug has a lot of BC users. I don't know the percentage with GP to BC, but there's folks out there eager to talk about Business Central, and they've come off, GP, QuickBooks, NetSuite, things like that. So just getting out there and talking is going to be key.
You made a couple of good points. I like to emphasize one of them. Just in general, I have an IT background. I just love the idea of reinventing. Like you said, it's not just bringing over what we did for 10 years, but it's a time to reevaluate and find out what's exciting, what's new, reevaluate processes and make that change management happen within the organization at the same time. It's just a great time to kind of look at everything, and you've got time to do it, right? So you've got some time. Obviously, good to start planning, but you've got time to lead up and figure this out. So it's not a rush, but like you said, you've got the ability to jump in and find the right resources that are going to support you, whether it's your current partner, whether it's a new partner, whatever it's going to be, finding out what ISVs you have to carry forward, what customizations you have to carry forward. Those are all great points that I wanted to emphasize. And then just quick follow-up question. We talked about, migration, implementation. It all sounds scary regardless, right? What's the workload like for a, basic company going from GP to BC? Are we talking 2-year implementation? Is it, a 2-week implementation, somewhere in between? What's it look like out there for folks going through this?
Well, hopefully it's somewhere in between, right? I think it's going to depend on the organization. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is if you're simply needing financials, banking, AP, AR, that could be a 3-month implementation. Okay. Yeah. If you're looking at full-blown manufacturing, I have a project right now. We're in month 16 and they're getting ready to go live. So I think it just really depends, and it's going to depend on development as well. Yeah. And I will say that resources are going to be slim. If Microsoft has now made this announcement, the partners are going to have to kind of shift, and they're going to be getting a lot more workload too. So now you're going to be up against other clients that really want to jump on the bandwagon and start the movement. So
yeah, it's like a pipeline issue now.
Yeah, I think, and this is what I'll be saying to people over the, the next couple of events I go to is, you should be having the conversations now and starting it now, because if you're going to be waiting until the last day and say, look, we need to go live, in 2031 before April, because that's like the drop dead date for Microsoft, mm-hmm. Security support. You're going to be doing that with 3,000 other GP, companies, right? And, resources are already limited in the United States. When it comes to functional consultants and developers, I mean, we're already pretty spread thin. Yeah. So start now. One thing I didn't talk about, Bobby, and I just want to rewind a little bit before we keep going forward. But one of the biggest differences with like GP to BC is GP is pretty much like hosted on a server in someone's back office, right? Right. BC is in the cloud. And Microsoft is managing all your backups, all your updates are coming automatically. You get 2 majors a year in spring and fall, and you get minors throughout the year. So Microsoft is pushing that out for you and doing those backups, which is going to be a huge change and maybe a huge savings for some of these companies running servers. And then every year they're having to like go through testing and all these server updates. There's a lot of cost associated with that as well. So Microsoft really wants GP users to go to BC. They're offering discounts like the Bridge to Cloud promotion, where they're offering discounts where you can take your yearly maintenance cost from GP. You're still paying that, but now you're getting BC licenses at a discount. So you kind of start that implementation process right away. So
you said 3 things I want to jump on. So one, the most recent. So thinking about this kind of, like you said, not waiting to the end, you want to kind of start to plan this because you might be like looking at an equipment replacement coming up soon. Like you said, you have back office servers, and I've done this. I was an IT director for 10 years at a company where I was on premises, and you do have to be concerned about the hardware. And so if you're coming end of life on hardware, it might be a good time to look at this upgrade. The second thing you mentioned, there's not just the Microsoft incentives for the licensing, but also for assessments. If you're looking, it's like, what is it going to cost me? What's this going to be? You could likely get this part paid for as well, to say, hey, let me talk to somebody like Kristen to say, here we are, and you can give a more honed in, idea of like, oh, based on what I'm seeing, it's going to be this, and this is here's how we'd handle it. And you're going to get a better overall project plan. Again, maybe at no or reduced cost. And the other thing I wanted to point out, the longer you wait in this, I mentioned it a little bit, but if you wait to the end, in the end, I mean, something that you got to think about as an IT organization, or as an organization through your IT department, is that ROI on when the system does get to that point where it's end of life. And yeah, Microsoft may still be there, but those resources start to get slim. Like you said, they're going to be there, but it's not going to be top priority. Even in the expanded world of consultancy, those folks are going to start moving on to other jobs, and that knowledge base starts to really weaken. So you could hold on to a system forever and ever, but these things start to break down quickly. So just keep that in mind as you're pulling your plan together and thinking about this. The sooner you get on it, at least start the planning process, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else top of mind? I know our goal was to get just some quick information out. Anything else they need to be thinking about? We've touched on some really great subjects. I just want to make sure we're thorough before we jump off.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I would recommend, Bobby, is again getting involved with the community, because Doug has the virtual conference coming up, and they have the live conference coming up next year in Chicago. And it's important for these companies who are thinking of looking at Business Central. This is a pretty inexpensive way for your users to start getting trained, start seeing the system, start networking and talking with people. Time and time again, I go to these events, and like the users will, become buddy, and they will start talking about, well, how do you do this in the system? How do you do that? So they're all starting to learn the system very early on, and that helps with discovery as well. And I'm sorry, my Alexa is trying to connect. Hopefully you can't hear that in the background.
Yeah, you're gonna order something. You're gonna be ordering, things while we're online. That's awesome. Yeah. Amazon will open your door in a minute with your delivery.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So much free education and peer sharing, and not just, you mentioned, DynamicsCon virtual and the event next year in Chicago, but likely you're near a local event, a regional event, and these are all free. So you can go there and talk to somebody who's using BC, ask them questions like, hey, here's how I do this now. How does it work in BC? Oh, it's the same, or it's really similar. Cool. You can start to really feel where it's going to be, and that's helpful. That peer sharing and making those connections are going to be huge. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Get out in the community, see where you've got a Doug meetup nearby, and jump on board and attend and kind of meet the people, and not just peers, but folks like you and Microsoft. I mean, there's so many people attending these that you've got a wealth of knowledge there.
Yeah. And one more thing I would say, Bobby, is that this is a great time to assess your partner relationship. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate for saying this from some people, but your partner may not be suiting your needs anymore. So talk to other partners too, because it is a new implementation, and make sure that you're going to be working with a partner that is going to be able to help you with your current needs, because you may have gotten implemented with GP 5 or 10 years ago. And over that course of time, the person who implemented you is no longer there, right? So now you have to reshare all that knowledge for your business. So just make sure that you're going to be working with a partner for that BC implementation that understands your business today.
You bet. Yeah, that's solid advice across the board. I mean, you want to be comfortable with the people you're working with, whether it's your GP partner, your doctor, your dentist, whatever. They got to have a level of comfort that everybody's aligned with where you're heading, and same goes for this. So you want to make sure that you have a solid idea of where you want to go, and you've got somebody there beside you, lockstep, helping you find that path. So great advice.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for jumping on for a quick chat. I wanted to point out Kristen's an MVP, so listen to what she says. She's smart, and really appreciate having you on. And I'll see you soon, I'm sure, around the bend here, whether it's at a live event nationally or locally here in Colorado. Always appreciate getting to catch up with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Take care.